Let's talk a little bit more from Melody Beatty's book. At the end of the first chapter, she talks about 3 points that I want to address as well. She talks about 3 fundamental lessons about codependency. Fairy dust, fairy dust, fairy dust. And a codependent is not crazy. She's codependent. So you're not crazy. We're not crazy. We're codependent. Alcohol and other compulsive disorders are truly family illnesses. The way the illness affects other members of the family is codependency. So what's important to understand about that is basically if you have one of 2 parents that is an alcoholic or has another kind of addiction, by definition, everyone else in the family will have some level of codependency, which is unhealthy, and or become an addict. So no one in the family is unscathed. So if you are an adult child of an alcoholic, you can know that the sister that seems to be doing so great, that she's not. And the brother that this, that, or the other thing, no, they've all been impacted. Everyone's got this. Everyone's got some level of this or some kind of addiction. And you know that to be true. In here, you know that to be true. Your inner saboteur tells you that it's not true, but that's the same lie your inner saboteur told you about your family the whole time, is that, this is fine, or finally they're gonna tell me the truth, or finally they're gonna be nice, or, oh, look, they've promised me something and maybe it'll be true this time, and no. The other tricky thing is sometimes you grow up with one parent or the other parent and no one drinks. And that is so hard, because what you don't know, if you have codependency, or if you are an addict and you have codependency, that one of your parents is probably from a family with alcoholism, and that they have figured out how to cope without a actual substance, but they're still intertwined in the toxicity of an alcoholic family. And so that means you will be too, because their brain got wired in childhood, and that wiring is intact, the wiring for codependency and dysfunction and drama and triangles and all the crazy stuff, and so is yours. And so it's harder for you if you have that, because it's more invisible. So you don't get to say, there's the bottles. I saw the empty liquor bottles. I saw, my grandmother had 7 and 7, and, always had one of those in her hands, the clink of the ice, you see it and you know. And that makes that easy for me, in the sense of at least I understand, I can comprehend, I can, put, when my addictive voice says, you didn't have it so bad, I can say, no, remember that clink, clink, clink. But if you don't have either parent that's an addict, you don't have a direct line. But if you're curious, you could ask your parents, like in a very loving kind of a way, like just curious, did either of your parents drink, or something like that? And then you might even find, like, oh, my dad never drank because his dad, drank and left the family or something. And then you're like, aha. So this shit doesn't come from nowhere. And so you got it from somewhere. And alcoholics love secrets, and addicts love secrets. And so they would have kept that hidden from you if they possibly could. But if you've got this shit in this book, like if you are codependent and the stuff that I'm talking about codependency or being addicted to toxic relationships, if you are in toxic relationships, you are codependent. And I'm going to teach you how you're codependent, and I'm going to teach you how to get unhooked from being codependent. Okay, so the second point she makes is that once a codependent has been affected, once codependency sets in, it takes on a life of its own. It's similar to catching pneumonia or picking up a destructive habit. Once you've got it, you've got it. And I really like Susan Pierce Thompson. She's a neuroscience that studies the brain and food addiction, and she's awesome. And I follow her program. And she had a vlog one time that's available if you want to get on YouTube, but she calls it Once a Pickle, Always a Pickle. So she's, again, paraphrasing, but she's referring to once we get into recovery, like once we start like learning all this shit and getting on our food plan and doing all that stuff, can we go back to eating normally, intuitively, whatever? And she says, again, I don't want to put words in her mouth, this was my takeaway, but for some of us, I don't know for all of us, but for some of us, a pickle is always a pickle. And bitch, I am a fucking pickle. This has been pickled. So I don't get to eat intuitively. I am not capable of it because it has set in. Once I got it, I got it. Once I got it, I got it. So you will always have some level of codependency in you. The only thing we can do, and your work is getting as conscious as you can possibly get. Oh, so hard. Get as conscious as you possibly get. Learn the ways you get hooked, and we'll talk all about that. Learn the ways you get hooked, learn the ways that you put yourself to sleep, learn the ways that other people put you to sleep, to hoodwink you into the poppy fields when you're on your quest on the yellow brick road, when you fall asleep in the poppy fields. But you've got this, and it's not going away. And for me, when my life is not going well, or I'm not going well, or I'm not doing well, or I'm not taking care of myself, or doing any of the shit that I need to be doing, you can bet you it's going to show up in my life as I'm hungry. And why can't I have that food that I've taken out of my food plan? Like, it's the interpretation of discomfort in my life will come to me as food. So, and because I'm codependent, it might also come to me as who can I take care of? Of course, that's not the thought, because I catch that one. It's more subtle. You know who hasn't heard from you in a while? This toxic person. Oh, okay. All right. So when you are weak, when you are vulnerable, your codependency will show up, just like my addiction and codependency will show up. So once you've got this, you've got it. Our only hope is to be conscious and do our personal growth work so we don't fall into this codependency, a destructive pattern. Okay, Melody Beatty says, the third point, if you want to get rid of it, you have to do something to make it go away. It doesn't matter whose fault it is. Your codependency becomes your problem. Solving your problems is your responsibility. I don't love this language. If you want to get rid of it, we're not going to be able to get rid of it. The best we can do is to be conscious of it and make different choices and solve our problems. I love this. One of my favorite things to do, and why people come to see me, why people hire my ass, is because I help them solve their problems. And because I'm really good at solving problems within the context of people's, when they're in a dysfunctional relationship, or stuff is going on, if they're unconscious or any of this stuff. I'm the girl. Like, I'm good at that. And that's what we do. That's advanced personal growth work. When you don't ever know what to do, you're going to hear me say this 1,000 times. solve a fucking problem. Just solve a problem. Solve a real problem. So we can't get rid of it. So that's my only qualm with this. But we do have it, and that we must do something to make it go away. Action is the antidote to despair. Action is the antidote to codependency. We must take action. Some of them will be internal actions. Some of them will be, an action to get ourselves some support, or an action to go to therapy, an action to maybe join Al-Anon or something like that. You don't have to, but so it would be you must do something about it. I would consider like getting conscious. That's something internal. Using any kind of tools, that's an action. And so that is a requirement that you would need to take an action. You have to actually do something to heal this. It doesn't just go away, and you can't wish it away, and you can't just like, I'll be fine. No. You actually have to figure this out. And this is some advanced shit. Like, this is really hard work. It is so hard to find, and it's so hard to see in yourself. The codependency addictive voice to me is the sneakiest and most conniving and most cunning and most insidious. All right. Your codependency becomes your problem. Abso-fucking-lutely. And I really like, again, I don't know where I got it, but it's like, this shit is not our fault. None of this shit is our fault. We were born completely innocent. We did not do anything wrong, and we did not do anything to deserve, no one does, any experience that's not just the best. That's not utopia, whatever. Maybe, I don't know. But we never deserved to be raised by people who were checked out and to be wired this way. And so it's not our fault. We did not do anything wrong. But it turns out it's our responsibility. And I'm telling you, the only way you can help anybody in your life, especially through codependency, and like I said, especially codependency, the only thing you can do for anyone is to actually change and live this, to actually become a whole person, to become fully self-actualized and fully individuated. That is your only hope, is to model this shit, to model health and wholeness and healing and self-love and self-compassion and freedom from passive aggression and freedom from sarcasm and freedom from, oh, believe me, I don't want to ever lose my sarcasm. I can't help it, but that's a work in progress. And so I know this is advanced. But that's the only thing that we can do, is to show them that it can be done, that they can be free from this. And that's what we're going to do. All right. Love you. This is so advanced. If you're still listening, like, just hanging with me, that's an action. So you can be proud of yourself for taking an action. And it's a huge action, because people aren't attracted to me unless they're going to be doing advanced personal growth work and are ready to hear these truths. So pat your little sweet self on the back, and I'm going to give you some fairy dust, actual fairy dust. Okay, so yeah, it's not our fault. We got this. It's in us, but we're going to do something about it. We're going to solve our problems, and we are going to be brave and heal ourselves of codependency. Here's yours. Here's mine. Here's this, friends. Okay, bye, sweetheart.